first stop in Harrogate was, it's really weird when you get somewhere new and it's always a bit nervous and you don't know what to do, and you park the van up and you have a bit of a scout around. And the first sort of view really struck me is this here, which I think is probably quite classic. Have you got that on the camera, John?
100%.
But which is, I think it's called Cambridge Crescent here, and actually the street we're on here, St James's, is kind of down that way. And then this is kind of, I'm just talking to people who perhaps don't know Harrogate, but this is Montpellier Hill, which disappears down here. This is the hotel Johnny and I are staying in tonight. It's quite a beautiful, quite sort of famous hill, and at the top of here this is Betty's, the very famous tea room sort of thing. So this view was kind of like, and it was all very twinkly, and these are they actually are Christmas lights. Yeah. And of course on the Stray, which is the green sort of, actually you can't see it in here, but it's the green here which goes out and right through the centre of Harrogate, this enormous bit of incredible green right in the middle of the town. There are all these trees decked in what I thought were Christmas lights, and was very, very quickly put straight that actually they're called the winter lights, and they're lovely. They're mad different colours that they put on all the trees. So I got here a bit late in the evening, and it was just like a real thing. It's this beautiful town. So I started kind of, just kind of painting twilight and trying to sort of find the geography of the town and sort of wandering around and seeing things that appeal to me. So this painting here was a painting of Valley Gardens, which are beautiful gardens in Harrogate. And I woke up one morning and it was a dusting of snow, and I was like, wow, this is amazing bit of snow. And anyone who paints outdoors knows that snow is like gold dust. And so, and it just really settled on the paths, as you can see here, but it was quite nice. And I thought, well, it's great to have caught the snow, and little did we know that kind of, in a couple of days it would really dump. And it was the most brilliant thing, getting up in the morning. And although I think it can't remember the first snow, I think the ground was wet, but it just came down so heavily, and it was everywhere. And so just painted loads of snow. This is another one of the. So this is the Stray, again looking out from Montpellier, looking out across this expanse of grass, and it goes all the way down there. And when it gets to this church here, which name escapes me, it does this sort of left, so it's like an L shape of huge expanse of grass, which is quite wonderful. And it's lovely because I mean it's just like it's amazing to have a huge central area in the centre of the spa town, big open grass area, really lovely. Who'd put a great big rugby stadium in the middle of there? Anyway,
come on to that in a moment.
And then eventually the snow fell, and it was just absolutely wonderful. And it's mad to take you through it one by one, so we'll just go through it because Johnny will just get dizzy, and you'll all get dizzy. So, as you know, I often end up on these sort of formats, these sort of long, thin formats, which I really enjoy, where we've got an action. And it was really lovely. A lot of the paintings to do were on board, or on these kind of the 824 boards. This one here happened to be a 624. Can you get up to there?
Yeah, I can. It's a good picture.
This was a 624 canvas.
Yeah.
So that was actually I found in the back of the van. It was actually a painting of it was a painting of Chichester Harbour at one point. That one in another life.
You'd never know
that.
Quite
nice. So all these colours here. So some of these in here were kind of, I think, sky that was from the last painting sort of thing. But it's really nice because you know when you paint on another painting, you've got all these marks underneath and these sort of light tones, which are really kind of helpful and sort of give you lovely, happy little accents.
What do we call it? Impedimenti?
Yeah, I guess so. But a complete accent. Accent is a completely different painting. But so it's really nice. I mean, very often I paint on just like a pretty normal grey ground. But when you've got something which is a bit more, and you can't really see from there what I've used and what I haven't used. But when you've got all these different sort of pattern underneath, it can be really sort of quite useful.
One of the things I've really noticed about your work is painting into light. You do a lot of it now. You've really mastered kind of that language as well, isn't it?
It's quite nice. I struggle a little bit with, especially with snow, when the light's behind you.
Yeah. And
I'm really getting really fed up with blue sky. I always think you do too much blue, and so I kind of, and the thing about looking into the light is you do cut down a lot of colour sort of thing, and it puts in a range that I'm sort of more comfortable with a lot sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Johnny. Actually, I'm painting less with the. I used to paint very much with the sun behind me, and that comes from the charcoal drawings where the tone on the buildings was quite strong, and the shapes were quite strong. The way the light cut into windows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when I'm sort of painting, these trees and stuff, I painted an awful lot of trees for a town centre, really.
Yeah, true.
But it was that kind of soft light, which is what I found quite appealing.
This is such a good example of soft light. I mean, snow is an artist's dream, isn't it? And how lucky were we at that period? We're going this way, I think.
Yeah. So this is. Yeah. So what was remarkable is the snow up here. I don't know what the snow's normally like up here, but when it was in January, it snowed and then it was extremely cold. I mean, it was really, really icy. So I mean, you were literally in your lorry. I mean, because everything's closed. I mean, just I don't know how. Yeah, so there's no cafes or anything to warm up in. So I used to keep the van running, and sort of I'd have 2 pairs of boots, my normal boots, and then a pair on the dashboard warming up, so I could swap them over and get warm feet again. And so there's lots of ways to kind of round it. And
good technical tips there, team.
But it was really, really icy, and I think on here. So I've painted underneath the trees here, and which have all the sort of snow on the branches and stuff like that. And you can see here on this guy here, there's a splatter. And I remember that was a big bit of ice kind of falling on the brush and it's splattering somewhere. But I kind of quite like this, kind of having those little bits that kind of still on the canvas.
Brilliant.
And
what did you find out about the architecture? Because I mean, actually, one of the most amazing pictures isn't Harrogate at all. It's this incredible view.
Yeah, it's just kind of sort of going out to Harrogate. When I was painting in that one I showed you, this first snowy one in Valley Garden, people always do this. They always give you tips or tell you where, what you're missing or what you should be painting, and what or why aren't you painting this? And these people told me about, I think it's called the Crimple Valley Viaduct. And so I just kind of went out. It wasn't that far out. She just got in the van, hopped out, and there was a bit of a muddy walk down there, and then was faced with this viaduct. And it's quite interesting because the actual viaduct is a sort of subject I'd kind of almost avoid like a plague, because it's loads of arches, the same size, lots of drawing, and I just thought you're gonna easily come a cropper here. And also, if you can get on the paintings on a bit, so the arches are, because it's quite a wide angle thing, they're not very well done, really, if I'm honest. But because it's quite a wide angle thing, when you look in the middle arch, you're looking straight through, and when you're looking this side, there's a sort of perspective. The arches are going that way and they're going this way, so it's actually a lot more kind of. There could have been a lot more. I kind of fudged it a bit, really, but there could have been a lot more drawing than you actually think technically to get really involved in it. Yeah. But it's quite icy, bit sheep, which was nice. We're heading up to the sky now, Johnny. Up here. I love it. It's a really good thing now.
It's a really good
thing.
When
we learn how to
in the hands, exactly that, in the hands of an expert.
So yeah, it was really nice.
There it is.
It's just a kind of nice thing to paint. And again, talking about looking into the sun. This is me trying to. So I get really wound up, especially with the snow. I want to capture it all. And
it's such a celebration of light, isn't it? Which is, it's painting's based on.
It's a bit like that. But this was kind of a little bit like me saying, "Don't worry, Pete. It's okay to paint a tree. You might be in Harrogate and say the architecture is
strong, isn't it?
Strong and all that,
we'll
but
get to that.
Sometimes it's okay to just sort of. And it was just lovely. And this is again,
it is beautiful.
Wandering around. So it's rather lovely. Yeah. So let's go and show them Betty's. This is the famous Betty's.
Yes.
The tea rooms, which were sort of open. They were doing, takeout delivery sort of thing. Looks amazing. I can't wait to get back here and actually
get involved.
Go to
Betty's. Top place.
But it's a rather lovely place. And this is around here is a war memorial. And I think these red lights were something to do with it. Someone was saying to do with the poppies of the war memorial, but it was rather lovely. And this was underneath an awning, which is quite nice. So when it was raining, and this started life as just an overcast painting, sort of end of the day, slightly wet and miserable, and it kind of I didn't really feel it had enough. And towards the end of one of the snows, it was quite nice. I know I can transform that because the light is similar, and we can put some snow on and make it more interesting. And this is probably, I think, kind of when I was painting, the most popular thing. People, the sort of, I guess, the view that people like the most, particularly, it's because it's basically all about the Stray, walking on the Stray, and walking and using that open space in the middle of Harrogate. This is, I think it's called West Park.
You see, I tell you what I love about this, and I know everybody who knows Pete's work will, I'm sure, resonate with this really quickly. It's like, you know, every day is different. No 2 days are the same, and the language, if you like, of the weather dictates so much how you see it. And so snow isn't just snow. Snow on an overcast day is really enclosing. You feel
it's fascinating. I mean, there's supposed to be. We can only see. We are very. We see white snow, you know, and we see maybe some various different tones, but apparently Inuit can see massive different colours of snow. They see it all the time. And it's interesting. I find that fascinating. It kind of, you know, when we see, like, we do see different, and actually when you look at, when you paint it, you don't just get titanium white, obviously straight out of the tube, and just put everything that's horizontal and paint it white, because, you know,
I want to touch on that colour thing with you, because this, one of the great things, apart from your, you know, determination and aptitude, is just that use of colour, knowing the right colour. Because this is a picture which kind of almost feels North American, as you say. You kind of like the weight of the snow, and the colour is different. It's a grey blue.
It's interesting, yeah. I mean, when you kind of think, when you're out there that you're kind of painting white, it's interesting bringing it into here. It's just quite sort of, it's quite
white,
white interior, but actually this is quite yellowy, isn't this snow? And it's actually quite dark colours, but which is I don't know, it is what it is. I don't know.
It is what it is, and that's, you know, again, then we go here.
This is mad.
This is just mad, but it's so true, isn't it? Anybody who's kind of been out on a day where the whole day has never gone above zero, you know, and the sun is setting, and that ice is still in the thing, and we've all...
this is actually rising, but I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's 50-50, isn't it?
This is yes. So that's east, yes, but and the trees are remarkable. These beech trees and the frozen snow on them, and you know, so it was wonderful, and it was amazing the kind of lilac of this tree against the morning sky was, and I kind of felt almost a bit. I struggled with it a bit because it was almost too. It was so lilac, so kind of so strong. So
I just think that's wonderful. I mean, look, there's 3 different renditions of snow. You know, ice cold, dark, thick, deep, you know, never going to kind of get warm, middle of the day, and then just water, you know, just kind of melting away and disappearing. And you know, I wish every painter in here, this room, every great success, but there are very few people, apart from the man standing with me, who could really do that.
Johnny,
I know, he's been wonderful. Come on, let's follow this man.
So these are the two that I really enjoyed. It's like going up a size on canvas now, so anything other than, as soon as I get to about 12, 16, when it gets bigger, usually I end up going to canvas. I don't know why, something to do with it. So these two are kind of like, so on canvas, and again, this is painted under an awning in falling snow.
Yeah, look at that.
So the awnings are great, you know, because you can just get under and just stay there all day and paint. And because this is Betty's again, so it's like the same, similar view to that Ford one. But it was just lovely to see, to actually see the atmospherics of falling snow and be able to do it under an awning. And, you know, it's interesting, you had a very small snowflakes as it goes back, sort of grey things out. Yeah. But it's quite interesting, when you do paint, even under an awning, it still gets wet and you lose definition. You can't do kind of hard lines. It's probably a good thing, because I do get a bit fiddly. So you get this quite soft kind of, you know, finish to it, which is all to do with, you know, it's made by the atmospherics, really.
So it's fascinating. Again, wonderful, bang on light, and they're kind of that just struggling to stay alight in a damp deluge of snow. Is this?
I love it. The kind of you're covered in this cold snow, and it's a little bit warm light,
just struggling to stay on.
And that one's on, and that one's not on, because they do alternately. So that's
just brilliant.
And then this one here, which is kind of quite a sort of, this kind of view reminds me a bit of. It could have been painted in 1930 in Paris or something. Can we get round to it? Johnny's still spinning around. He will get round to it in a minute. You'll see the view I'm talking about. But it's, although it's a hill, not really hills in Paris. But so this again is Betty's awning, and I was painting under another. There's quite a few awnings in Harrogate. I was painting under another one, I managed to capture this guy slipping up, losing his balance a bit there. It's funny, you see the figures again, and when you do them outside, when you see them inside and in a warm, you realise, God, they're in a way quite crude, but that's kind of what they are. That's kind of what when you're outside, you're limited, and that's kind of what it's
You've got to grab it. You've got to grab that memory.
Yeah, you're freezing cold, and you just kind of get it in. But and that's kind of what figure painting is about. It's just kind of like if you can capture someone losing their balance, and that's kind of that'll do for me, sort of thing. But yeah, so
again, I just love this sort of light, reflected light off the windows. So half reflections in there, and then this warmth coming through.
Yeah, and that's a really nice sort of tool to bring the landscape into the side as well. It's very with the rainy paint, you bring sky to the bottom, and it's quite nice to bring it across to those windows. So we go. I'll tell you what we're missing, Johnny. The painting we're missing here, you know that.
Right.
We're missing the one that's printed.
It's in the window.
It's in the window.
It's in the window.
Right. Okay. So. And then these, I really love doing these. So at the end of the day, it got really dark, and of course I didn't want the snow was. I wanted to make as much as I could, and what the hell was I going to do in my hotel room anyway? I watched bloody awful telly. So, but it was just really weird seeing falling snow, and these colours. It just got really murky and sludgy, and I just found it really fascinating. This was actually painted kind of in snow, so there was only a limited amount I could do, and it's very thinly painted, and it's kind of like, I think that colour here is probably the colour the actual board was, quite a dark colour. Then there were just, and I couldn't really see, I think there was a street light above me, quite a bright street light, and sort of colours I could see and sort of colours I couldn't. A little bit of this stuff was sort of mucked about a bit in the studio, just the odd dot, but I've tried to keep as much as I can, sort of what I could or couldn't do kind of out there, and I quite like the sludginess. And
it drives me, Sydney Star. And
yes,
do you know that really lovely sort of Whistlerian kind of feel?
Just, melting light, diffused,
good
sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely. It's quite interesting. Yeah,
it's a very interesting picture.
Piccadilly one, I think.
Yes, and down on that sort of Chelsea Road, down there, absolutely.
This was before snow here. This was a kind of remarkable bit. I can't remember what it's called. I think this is called the Priory. This building here. Johnny will come around to it eventually.
I don't know what to do. I mean, it's the choice. I don't know what our audience wants.
This is the Priory, Trinity Church. That's right. So it's up by a roundabout, but it was just found it's quite.
I love this. Yeah.
And again, I just really enjoyed getting involved in all these sort of branches and stuff. And I do struggle. I never know quite what to do. Bob Ross would have it down to a T. We'd have a special brush for sort of doing trees. But I kind of fiddle. I never know whether to sort of just do a sort of lots of little lines or what. But it's all a bit of a sort of quite interesting fact.
It feels exactly like it is, which is pollarded trees which have been left unpollarded. Going to be, done later. It feels exactly like that. And of course, there's light, just the light coming through. It's picking up so well.
And then this is kind of like a similar view to that one over there of Betty's with thawing snow, but it was sort of at night, and I just love struggling with kind of how you do, and a lot of it is a bit of anticipation and the memory of what it was like the night before, and then trying to sort of deal with it sort of in the darkness sort of thing, and you end up with what you end up with. It's all a bit of a haphazard thing, but all quite fun. This was kind of one of the first views I did, I think, when I first got here.
This is saying,
the Royal Pump Room, and I just loved the way the road sort of twisted around like that, and sort of came. And I was kind of up on the hill here, looking down, so it's quite an interesting viewpoint to go at. And I tried not to. I think I'd just done something. I've been doing something quite fiddly, and I just tried to keep it quite loose, not get too obsessed with detail and getting everything, absolutely nailed. And it was sort of like just interested in working with those greys and sort of tones and stuff like that. And just
again, very, very beautiful.
And then this here is a really got another night scene, and it was kind of fantastic. This is
I love the light of that. Just
the Royal York Hotel, which we didn't stay in because it was all closed. The sister hotels, one down the hill we stayed in, but it, I've got Sickert in the head, in the night.
Yeah, exactly. Those sort of uplit, almost theatrical. It is quite theatrically lit, actually, isn't it? In fairness, and you've really got that sense of kind of drama in the building.
Well, it's just kind of, and again, it's all a little bit of guesswork, anticipation, and then sort of chucking stuff on and seeing if it works. And
the trouble is, just from a practical point of view, you're hardly able to register the colours you're kind of physically seeing.
There's a bit of memory.
Bit of memory in
colours are, and also the colours do mute anyway, so you probably could work. I mean, I probably should really work. Just give up and go altogether, and perhaps just work completely. Monochrome would be all the way around it, but so that was fun. And this is another one of the. This is another one of the. Sorry, this is one of the. Another one of those night things, and this is the Skipton Road. So this is Parliament Street. It's a very steep street which goes down from Betty's, and then the Skipton Road just bring up here. When the snow, I think the first or second snowfall, it came down so heavy. In the morning, cars are coming down Parliament Street and just not stopping and just sliding into each other. It's wonderful. But I just love this, the snow melting away, and it all just, everything all diffusing, and just being a big. It's interesting how it became very grey, and I think it was a sort of sublimation, the snow sort of vaporizing and stuff like that, but it was all a mist and everything. I found really fascinating, and it seemed a lot warmer than it kind of than you'd imagine with snow sort of thing, the light and stuff. And this was the pharmacy chucking light across the snow, and
that's why I love that. As you say, there's something about sort of, as you say, light cast across open streets.
Yeah, but it was just, I just love painting that, and it's kind of drawings were a bit wobbly, but I don't mind that. There's kind of like
I'm a big fan of this picture. That amazing kind of lilac coming through the sort of sky.
It's all fun, but you can always, one can always do better. But this is obviously Betty's, the one that's the print in that, and again we're talking about that. I just love that, the idea of the reflection looking in there, and this is sort of what Ken did so well. Ken Howard is that those paintings of Cheapside and reflected, churches and stuff like that there, but it just gives it that bit of slightly more interesting angle.
It's such a great view. I mean, it's literally down the road from where we are. We're underneath Betty's Lawn.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And,
so that's looking down Parliament Hill again. Anyway,
and it's so good. And I mean, I just want to. I mean, I'm going to say it, and I don't want it to sound like it's too much of a whatever sort of. But things like this, guys, the detail, the light coming back underneath, sort of registered light bouncing off the wet pavement here and coming up into the awning. It's these sort of really fantastic details, because there's like the stuff you see every day because you walk down, you think you're seeing, and the stuff that's actually there but you don't normally see. And it's those bits which I think are just so well caught by a piece. And you've got to, if you do then see it, you've got to know the colour to use. How to pick it up as a register.
I mean, what's really nice is on days like this, is the lights really even.
Yeah.
So you can just stand there and just see them put and see them put and see them put and keep changing. And so it's a real treat because it's quite controlled in a way. The light's quite controlled. And, which is when when you get that bright sun, like some of the ones over there.
Yeah.
You got your 2-hour window, and it's all a bit of a sort of crazy nightmare sort of thing.
Yeah.
But when it's like this, it's a wonderful evenness of light, and you can just really. Try and get it in. So when you paint at night, I think it's a little bit like we were chatting earlier, like the idea of like, do you put light on your canvas, or do you just kind of let your eyes adjust to it? So there's a couple of weeks. I'm not going to take you through each painting because we're going to have a problem navigating. But so if I can get under a lot of street lights now, they got rid of the sodium. Happy days, that horrible yellow light. And now we've got these white lights. So there's quite a bit of that knocking around now. So you can get underneath there. And then of course places like this, if the lights were kept on in this gallery, then that would shut light on.
Chuck light, and you could work on that.
There are always that, but you will never. It will never be ideal, and the light will always be wrong. So you'd always kind of put down the wrong colours. But there's something quite nice about that sometimes. You get these happy accidents, and you end up working sort of tonally a bit, and you get back to the hotel room and you go, Christ, interesting.
Yeah, who knew?
But sometimes that works.
And do you lay out your paints in that way? Because in a way, I think a lot of what you do must come down to the intelligent hand.
Your paints are all laid out exactly. I mean, I know exactly where every paint is and every colour is. So, all the earth colours are the same. I know as soon as the lights get dim, you wouldn't tell the difference between raw umber and madder brown looking at them. But I know where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And also there's that thing where whatever you do over time, I mean, particularly sports, and I'm not saying we're doing it at this level, but there's
you're looking at an athlete.
You're not. But there's a muscle memory, or a memory for your brain. So a lot of things that happen when you paint are just kind of happen almost subconsciously.
I love that thought, because I think that's testament. Everyone says like you know, how do you get to be as good as Pete? Well, okay, yeah, there's a lot of natural talent flowing through there, but it's just the exercise, and the more you train and it's actually,
it's 10,000 hours, you know, it's that thing. And the problem is, of course, is there is a sort of an unconscious painting which you kind of, if you let it kind of happen, it just happens. But of course, you want to push that as well. So you want to try and find. So there's a sort of balance between consciously deciding to do stuff and look and do things, but then also just let things happen. And then while someone was watching me paint, I did a mark, and he said, "Oh, that's a Pete Brown signature mark." It's really interesting. We all have our signature marks.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't realise it's just like a sort of way you flick a brush or something. So it's quite interesting things you do without really thinking about it.
Pete, well done you for creating an incredible body of work. It's phenomenal. It's beautiful. Thanks very much for joining us.